there's the idea also that some people say, well, bone chips taken from an ossuary don't necessarily mean that it's that person's bones, because ossuaries were used sometimes for multiple burials. So you bury somebody and then 30 years later you bury someone else in the same ossuary. You put bones because the others have fragmented or so. It could be, we're back to it could be, right? But the fact is there's only one name on this ossuary. It says Jesus, son of Joseph, meaning two names, but only one person. When you have multiple burials, for example, in the Simon of Cyrene ossuary, is a very interesting ossuary. It's also an ossuary that's been in the shadows, and it's the man, according to the Gospels, who helped Jesus with his cross, one of the earliest followers of Jesus of Nazareth. Very interesting. It's the fifth station on the Via Dolorosa. It's where this happened. Millions of people, pilgrims come, they pray there. They don't realize, they literally carry a cross. They don't realize that the man they're talking about, this fifth station, his bone box has been found, also kept in the shadows. It says Alexandros in Greek on the same ossuary, meaning his son Alexander. So you have Alexander, you have Simon, and you have Alexander, son of Simon, and you have Cyrene in modern Libya, all mentioned on one ossuary. So scholars agree that this is probably the Simon from the city of Cyrene in modern Libya who helped Jesus with his cross. Now, that's an interesting ossuary because it says Simon and it says Alexander. It says it says Alexander, son of Simon, and it says Alexander and Simon next to each other. What does this mean? They were probably both buried in this ossuary. You have two names, and you have a relationship, and then you have them next to each other without a relationship. You have a body of evidence suggesting that there's more than one person buried in this ossuary. You don't have that in the Jesus, son of Joseph ossuary. It just says Jesus, son of Joseph. There's no other name inscribed there. So why would you assume that there's somebody else? I mean, when in a modern cemetery you find someone, it's tombstone. I mean, it could be grave robbers came in the middle of the night and changed coffins, but it's not likely. So why would you assume? So also, when you look at stuff that's kind of filtered down to the bottom of the ossuary where the little chips were taken for DNA, that would be from the earliest level. Meaning, if somebody else was buried later, that would be on top of the earlier bone fragments. So I think it's very suggestive that Jesus, son of Joseph, buried in this ossuary, those are his bone chips, and the same, were taken by the DNA experts. We're talking about tiny, tiny little fragments from which they were able to extract CSI-like DNA. And the same for Mary Magdalene. But you know what? Maybe they should take more bone fragments. Because if there were two people buried in the same ossuary, you should find a mix of DNA in the same ossuary. If you don't, if they're all consistent, that means there was only one person.